And y'all know what it is. It's another episode of You Don't Have to Be Perfect. Thank you for another Monday joining us here. Got someone special in the house tonight. Let's let this intro run. You don't gotta be perfect, you just gotta get started. Don't overthink it. Just go where your heart is, turn your dreams and your goals. Let your goals shape how you live. Success is inevitable if you're willing to give up your old self to become someone new, to be the true you. And we added another station this week, so excited. We're going to be doing a lot more streaming in different spaces and places. Season 2 is almost over. Unstoppable from the beginning. Your excuses are useless. Let your actions be part of the solution and watch the income it produces. Recognize greatness, a supreme revelation. Years of blood, sweat, and tears to become an overnight sensation. Can't do it alone. I should have said this first. Teamwork always makes the dream work. Teamwork always makes the dream work. Yes, it's another Monday of You Don't Have to Be Perfect. Let me cut my ringer off. Y'all know we are known not to be perfect. And we have a special guest with us today, Miss Carol Obando Derstine.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. So we are so grateful to have you on the show, but a lot of people don't know who is Carol Obando Derstine.
I'll be happy to tell you. So I'm here because I am someone who's running for Congress in the 7th Congressional District. I'm a Democrat. My race is May 19 of 2026. People get that a little confused. They're thinking that I'm up in November. It is for next year. I'm up against Ryan McKenzie. So a little bit about me. I've lived here in the district for 22 years. I have roots here. I have raised my children here. They've gone through public school system here. I have worked here the whole entire time, those 22 years. I have also, my husband has been worked here and has been, really committed to this community for over 2 decades. I am someone that understands the struggles that working families face because I've lived them. Which camera should I be looking at? I feel like I'm looking at you.
Ahead.
I'm looking at
you don't
everywhere.
Have to just look straight ahead and enjoy.
Okay,
the camera's looking at you. You don't have to focus on the camera.
All right. Talk. So look at you then.
You can look right there.
Okay.
Right ahead.
So I understand the struggles that working families face because I've lived them. I came to this country as an immigrant at the age of 3. My parents were seeking safety and opportunity because they had lived through a violent civil war in Colombia, and they were looking for the American dream that so many immigrants are looking for. So we settled in North Jersey, and we lived on a floor with just one bathroom and about a dozen relatives, because that's what starting over looked like, and that's what survival looked like. So we faced a lot of financial hardships, language barriers, and sacrifices. And I talk about how I shared a twin bed with my cousin for years. They were just looking for the American dream and were willing to sacrifice everything. So once I was able to achieve the American dream, I've dedicated my whole life to helping others help themselves and achieve their version of the American dream. So after graduating school, I ended up working in the nonprofit sector. I worked as a child therapist, and I ran Women and Family Services at a nonprofit organization in Newark, and then I moved here 22 years ago and started heading up nonprofit organizations. The first job that I had here in the Lehigh Valley was heading up Skills USA Council that worked with career and tech students and connecting them to, helping them launch their careers with the technical training that they were getting. I also headed up another nonprofit organization called the Children's Coalition of the Lehigh Valley, which was advocating for state and federal policies that benefited children. I also taught at Northampton Community College. I taught a career exploration class where I met a lot of women that were going through a divorce that had been stay-at-home moms for, I don't know, like 2 decades, and now we're facing a divorce and we're trying to figure out what they were going to do next. So I helped them with trying to figure out what their next moves were going to be. All of the things that I was learning led me to Senator Casey's office. I ended up being his regional manager and statewide Latino affairs advisor because I'm fully bilingual. I never lost the ability to speak Spanish because I'm very proud to be Latina. I never hide that. So I became his regional manager and statewide Latino affairs advisor here in the district. I covered his office in Allentown on Hamilton Street, and it oversaw Lehigh, Northampton, and Carbon counties, and also Berks County. But this seventh congressional district is mostly those three counties: Lehigh, Northampton, and Carbon counties. It has a little bit of Monroe, but mostly it's those three counties. So I know the issues. I have uh, met countless people. I interacted with a lot of folks who came into the office. So day in and day out, we were connecting people to the services they needed. And that experience led me to learn a lot more about the energy sector because there were a lot of things going on around, like a lot of bad storms around the time when I worked for him. And so I got to learn a lot more about PPL. And so when there was an opportunity to work in community relations, so I took it and I started to work at PPL in 2016 as a regional affairs director. So I was helping seniors and low income families reduce their energy bills. I was giving out grants to worthy nonprofit organizations. And that just led down a path of trying to learn more about energy. And I ended up becoming an energy engineer. So that's how I ended up at Lehigh University, where Paz also went to school there. So that's how I ended up. And so, should I just keep going,
I
or
love it.
okay?
No, I love it. I love it. So here is, you said a lot,
I
and
did say a lot.
I love it.
Did I take a breath
No,
during that?
yeah,
I just kept going.
and I'm grateful that you're confident enough to do so. But I don't want to skip past all of the
Good.
amazing things
Okay.
that you said. So
Thank you.
first of all, you said that you are an immigrant.
Yes.
So you were born in Colombia. You said during a time where it was during a revolution, right?
That my parents had lived through a violent civil war.
Okay.
So it was like the 50s, 60s, and then I came on the scene in the 70s.
Okay.
So at that time, there were also like a lot of violence with the cartels and the drug trade, and a lot of stuff was going down in Colombia. So there was a lot of violence that they had experienced, and they were searching for better opportunities.
I love that you say that because you also talked about your dedication to community, right? You've run a few nonprofits, you've done some things. So, in today's climate, with all that's going on, how do you, first of all, process, the ICE raids and those kinds of things, and then how do, as an immigrant and a child of an immigrant, how do you, does it make your family uncomfortable knowing that anything can change, even though you've worked hard?
As an immigrant, I'm pissed. I'm pissed because there's a flagrant and outright like racial profiling for a lot of Black and brown community members, and it's not right. It's not right the way that they're attacking so many communities and people that look like my family, people that look like my sister. I recently had seen a video of a woman that was talking to an ICE agent because they had her husband had shown up to some like hearing, and then she was talking, and then he got taken away, and she was talking to the ICE agent, and he grabbed her and he knocked her down and split her head, where she had to go to the hospital because of a concussion. So these are people that remind me of my family, that look like people in my family, and that's why I'm running, because I was not looking for this. But I cannot take this type of abuse against our community members. I can't just sit on the sidelines and ignore it. So when I saw that Susan Wild said she wasn't going to run again and wondered if this would be something that I would consider, I initially thought, well, people like me don't do this. I had worked for Senator Casey, but I'm not a Casey. I don't come from money. I don't come from influence. I come from regular people that just came here. My parents put their head down and worked really hard. And I just come from simple, like regular people. And when she had said that, you know what, this is something that you are capable of doing. You have the skill sets, you have the passion. And she planted the seed. And I thought, why not me? Why not regular people that can give it their all and have the passion and the connection to the community? Why not me? And that's why I did it.
I love it. And I wanted to provide you a platform so that you can inspire someone else to say, why not me?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Why not us? Why not us?
There's someone right now that is hearing your backstory and going, I can do it too. I can step out and be a beacon of light for my family. I can right now, because you're putting yourself in some danger, because it's not like ICE cares whether you are a legal citizen right now. I saw something that really broke my heart recently. There was a young man, and he was walking to a space, and in the Bronx. I was just recently in New York checking on my family. And ICE agents were running around, and because they were running around, the young man got scared, not thinking it's people with guns, badges. So he runs out of the store. So the ICE agents throw him to the ground. They're basically, everyone's yelling, he's an American citizen. He was born here. He was, but the ICE agents were just yelling at the people. And it took someone to be able to show, as they had him detained, that this isn't who you think who it is. So stepping out at this time in this climate, do you feel targeted? Do you feel safe? How do you feel during this time running, knowing that so much is going on?
No, we don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. Our communities don't feel safe. And this is the time to step up. This is the time to make your voice heard. I saw countless people. I saw thousands of people at the No Kings protest recently, and there are people that are coming out that have never been to a rally before, ever. My parents had never been to a rally either, and they came out a couple weeks ago. So it's just showing you that folks are angry. They're frustrated. This is not the America that they want to see. This is not the direction they want the country to be going in. And it is a scary time, and putting ourselves at, but this is the time. If not now, then when?
I love that you're speaking boldly. If not now, then right. If someone doesn't step into the fire, who will? I'm grateful that you're putting yourself out there, and I'm grateful that you're letting people know that you're not a politician,
no,
but you feel like these policies, these laws that are being executed across our country is big enough for you to step out of your shadow and step into the limelight. Because I understand you've gone full bore, quit your job.
That's right.
And decided I'm going to give this my all.
Yes. Because our community deserves it. Our community deserves fighters, folks that understand those struggles, that can speak from lived experience. A lot of folks in leadership, they don't know that. They don't know financial hardships, language barriers, sacrifices. They're in a position of privilege, and they don't really understand what it's like. So then they ignore folks like me, because and that's how I feel like in the past our communities have been ignored because people just don't ever venture, they don't talk, they don't make time, they don't hire staff that look like us, etc.
So in a city, so Allentown is older than America. Allentown was founded in 1762. We are a city that's never had anything other than a white male mayor. How do you feel that you're going to be able to tackle the situations in order to be received at U.S. Congress?
It is just being my authentic self and knowing the issues. And I have always, like, so I understand all the issues of working class families because I've lived them, but I also made a conscious effort to also continue to stay engaged and to connect with families. So when I worked for the senator, I was in a lot of spaces connecting with community members, staying, always having like what they call the finger on the pulse, right? Finger on the pulse, finger on the pulse. And when I went to PPL and was in community relations, I continued to stay connected to the community. I was his regional manager and statewide Latino affairs advisor. I was also the on the governor's advisory commission on Latino affairs when I worked for when I volunteered for Governor Wolf. So that was an opportunity to keep staying connected. And now that I'm running, I continue to show up in spaces. And for example, I was at the International Cultural Festival at the Cedar Beach,
Cedar Beach.
and I'm showing up at places and having conversations with everyday people in the Lehigh Valley, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take people that actually make time. I'll round tables and have smaller discussions with community leaders working directly with community members. So and I did a group of African American community members. Keep doing that. It's not a once and done thing. There is no such thing as that. But it does take someone that is intentional, that wants to go and meet people where they are, have conversations, have difficult conversations about what it's like to have been ignored and what we need to have things, really truly represent us, and spaces and policies that are going to uplift us. So it's a multi-pronged approach, and when I get there, it's also about hiring staff that is reflecting the community, hiring a diverse workforce that works in your office is also part of the solution. There's a lot of parts to it, but that is definitely another piece to it.
I love that you say that because being a congressperson is different than being a mayor, or it's different than being a county commissioner, it's different than being a school board representative. Most people don't understand politics. Don't talk about my degree in politics because that's not too much fun, right? But most people don't understand politics and what a U.S. congressperson does. So, as U.S. congressperson of the 7th district, you would be representing a large number of people, a large number, which is now, Allentown being 65% Latino. But then you go into other counties like Monroe, you said county.
It's the west end of Monroe, so not a lot of Latinos there.
Exactly. So there are counties that you also represent that don't have a strong Black and brown base. Why should they vote for you?
Because fundamentally, I understand the struggles that working families face, and that is crossing, race, ethnicity, and gender. I have common ground with folks. I understand that. I have a history of helping people get ahead. And that is not based on race or gender or anything. It's based on work history. When I ran those nonprofits, when I helped career and tech students achieve their dreams and help them launch their careers with the technical training that they were getting, that's I wasn't only helping one set of those students. I was helping them across the board, all races and ethnicities. So I have a track record of backing it up to that backs up my statement that I'm helping people get ahead.
And I love it. I mean, because there are going to be people that, especially in those other places, outside of Lehigh County, which is a majority black and brown space. Those places that don't look like us need to know that you're going in to represent everyone,
Everyone. That's
right?
right.
You know,
Absolutely.
what are some of the issues that you would like to go into the Congress and bring that is currently facing the Lehigh Valley?
But I want to just step back to
Okay.
something you said earlier, because I think fundamentally what I think is government can be a source for good, can
Hmm.
help families, can help them get ahead. And there is another counter narrative that says that, that it's not. But I fundamentally in my heart of hearts have seen government work well.
Hmm.
So when for example, my mom got hurt when I was around 8 years old, and she got hurt on the job. She was a my both my parents were in unions, and my mom was a machine operator, and she was AFL-CIO, and my dad was a technician in hospitals, and he was SEIU. But mom got hurt around the age of 8, and she I didn't know how bad it was. I was scared to death. I had heard that my mom had gotten hurt at the factory and that she was in the hospital. And so I didn't know. Eventually, when she came home, I still remember like the blood on her pants all 40 years later, because I'm 48. I still remember that. And I remember like seeing the stitches, and we had health care because it didn't bankrupt us, that whole visit to the emergency room. The factory was able to make to ensure that they protected the next person from getting hurt like that. So that was government and OSHA, and the fact that she was in a union. That was all. These are all good things, and the fact that over the years, the government has protected or the right to organize. So all those things are things that government, when it's working well, can really help families. And that's just one little example of so many that I've seen over my lifetime. And I could just like even now having worked at PPL and have seen the emphasis that the company puts on safety and a safety culture, and all that, and I know so many, like we have so many kids that like I know there's kids out there that have seen their parents get hurt, and some of them may not even come home, because I've worked at an electric utility, and those jobs are life and death jobs. So we want to make sure that we have a government that works and is ensuring that worker safety is a priority, and that companies focus on that, because we want every person to come home to their kid, like my mom came home to me around the age of 8. That was very traumatic.
I love the things that you're talking about here. Right now, we're dealing with a government shutdown. We're in Pennsylvania, so we are less than 5 days away from SNAP benefits being ended for families in Pennsylvania. With the government shutdown going on the way it's going, that trickle down effect
Hmm.
has said that as of November 1st, there'll be no SNAP benefits.
Hmm.
So families that were receiving food stamps won't receive food stamps, cash assistance won't receive cash assistance. So there's going to be some
A lot of pain.
widespread pain, right? And panic.
Yeah.
Pain and panic. You know, as someone that's going into or looking to get into Congress,
Hmm.
what are some solutions that you think people should be looking to now?
Well, you had asked me what my priorities are, right?
Hmm.
So I can go into them,
Okay.
and then I can delve deep and specifically to the shutdown. But
Well,
I am focused on 6 priorities. So the
okay.
first one is affordability, and when I talk about affordability, it's of everyday life, like housing, healthcare, groceries, utilities, and childcare. I don't know how many people are aware of the United Way's Alice report.
Mm-hmm.
Every year they put it out, they update the numbers. The recent report that just came out for this year found that 41% of families in the district are struggling to make ends meet. So ALICE is an acronym. It stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. So these are families that don't fall into the category of being poor because they're above that threshold of that definition of poverty, but they're working, but they're still struggling.
Mm-hmm.
So that Alice, the report though says 41 includes the ones that are in poverty, and then the Alice that are working. These are the working poor, but they're still struggling to pay for the essentials like housing, healthcare, groceries, utilities, childcare, transportation. So we need to focus on the affordability issues of every day, and that so the second one is healthcare, because when I talk about healthcare in terms of affordability, and I put healthcare as a separate item, it is also about access,
Mm-hmm.
and access to reproductive healthcare, rights and protecting those. So it's making sure that folks have access to making choices for their own bodies.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is economic stability, and that is
Talking my language.
that's where we see SNAP benefits are cut and Medicaid was cut. The ugly budget bill that they call the one big beautiful bill that's not beautiful at all, it cut Medicaid, it cut healthcare to 17,000 people here, over 17,000 people here in our district. It cut food assistance in terms of SNAP benefits to over 6,000 of our neighbors. That's not right. And we need a congressperson that's going to restore those cuts. And so that is criminal. It's just not right. It is not right, the pain and suffering that's happening in our communities. The third is someone that's focused on jobs and workforce development and ensuring that our schools are preparing our kids for the future and for jobs that we need folks to learn more about. And in the tech is happening right now. There's AI and changes in our technology is happening right
Yes.
now. It's not the future. The future is now. So
Now,
we need to
yes,
make
ma'am.
sure that our students are prepared. And
Yes.
then I'm also leveraging the experience that I have around energy and infrastructure, all the stuff that I was doing as an energy engineer, as a project manager, connecting companies to the grid, especially renewable energy companies. That know-how is important, and having someone that has that expertise, that can be an expert in the room in Congress, is important. The sixth one is around protecting our rights and our freedoms. And that's where we were talking about immigration and the ICE raids. And we don't have to fund the ICE, like this. We don't have to have them be able to hire all these new staffers, officers to carry out this terror. So these are all the ways in which we can make a better district and a better future for ourselves. Is those six priorities, but it's starting with affordability. And so, getting back to the cuts in SNAP benefits and all the pain and suffering, we need to make sure that we have a government, though, that is funding essential services, and that is healthcare, and making sure that folks have healthcare and have, be able to have access to food. In terms of the SNAP benefits, a few months ago, this president cut USAID, to which was allowing farmers to be able to sell their crops to the food banks, and then the food banks were able to give fresh produce to folks that use SNAP benefits. That seemed like a win-win solution to a lot of the problems. We had farmers that then were able to sell their goods, and then we have families that need support in terms of food assistance that were able to get it. Now, we several weeks ago we were seeing news coverage of the empty shelves at Second Harvest Food Bank. This is not right.
and it definitely. So when you talk, so dealing with the underprivileged, one of the things you'll hear me say all the time is poverty is violence. You know, we tend to want to deal with gun violence. We tend to want to deal with gang violence, which are just symptoms of the main problem, which is poverty.
Mm-hmm.
I've said many times when I didn't know better and didn't have any know how, there would be no one that was going to stop me when my ribs were touching.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're about to go back into a situation where we have more people thinking with primal instincts
Yeah.
than thinking with
Stress.
their
It's a
brain.
stressful
Yeah.
situation.
When you can't feed your kids, you don't think about, am I breaking a law?
Mm-hmm.
You think about, does little Johnny need this sandwich? You
Mm-hmm.
know, are they gonna be warm at night?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are things. I wasn't a criminal. I was a father. It just meant I broke some laws in order to get what they needed, right? There are going to be, we're putting more people
Under stress, under
under
toxic.
those
It's
those
toxic stress.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you know I know you're not in office, so there aren't many things you can do yet because
No.
you're not the congresswoman.
Mm-hmm.
But what are there any things that you might suggest to people along the way, especially during this toxic stress period?
Keep making your voice heard. Keep telling our current congressman, Ryan McKenzie, the strain that this is putting on your families, on yourself and your families, and keep voicing your opinion. Keep it going. Keep not just to the congressman, but go to the senators, the two senators that we have. Call the White House. Just do everything that you can to make your voice heard.
And I think that's important. I think a lot of times we don't realize that uh, every voice counts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things, especially because we're coming up to election day, I tell people all the time, I don't want to hear you complain if you didn't vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your vote is a way to make your voice
Mm-hmm.
count,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, especially on the local level.
Exactly.
I think many of us vote every 4 years. That's for the presidency. And, you know, there are elections
Every year.
that happen all the time.
Every year there's an election. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This year it's the county, it's the school board. Next year it's the congressional. Yeah. And there's always elections. There's always an opportunity to make your voice heard.
Yes. So, and I want to talk to the little person right now because you said you're coming from being in a working class family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why would that person, the immigrant, the working class family, why should they get involved?
They should get involved because your voice, your experience, your uh, everything, your life matters, and we need to make sure that elected leaders hear that. They 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 hear from you. They understand better where you're coming from if you share your thoughts. And so I'm not sure if you're asking me if they should just get involved in terms of making their voice heard or get involved in leadership roles. What do you mean?
However
Or
you,
ever? Okay,
yeah,
however I'm interpreting that question.
yes, I'll let you.
So on one level, the way I understand your question is to make your voice heard, to get engaged, to reach out to even local, go to the mayor's office. And if there's issues that are happening in your community, in your neighborhood, then make your voice heard and make a change. And but on another level, then it's also get involved in the process and maybe run for school board or maybe run for a county commissioner or what have you, but also just you know get involved in your community and share the gifts that you have. Everybody has gifts, everybody has different talents, and just also connect with other folks and okay, I don't know what's going on
Yeah.
there. so so it's just a matter of getting involved in your community and sharing your gifts, because it's not just about elected office. It's also about a lot of civic organizations. For example, I'm in Rotary, and I have been able to do a lot of beautiful things through Rotary, and be able to volunteer and just get involved in community. I actually love to talk about this, but I'm not going to go way in depth. But I ended up going to get a master's. My first master's was in community psychology and social change, because I really believe in how I love studying and being a part of, like, how do you create community. And past, you were really involved with Promise Neighborhood, and that is another wonderful organization, a nonprofit organization, but where you were able to exercise your leadership skills, and you were able to get other young people feeling connected to their community. So I love where this question can go, and this answer, excuse me, can go, because there's so many ways that folks can get involved in their community and make a difference. It doesn't have to be an elected office, because I was never looking for this. I did not think about this as an opportunity, but it presented itself. And, like I said, if not now, then when? And if not who? If not me, then who? Because I have that background. I understand the struggles. I've lived it. I have work experience. I have just a passion for this type of work, for making a difference. I actually even studied community psychology and social change, because I really believe in this work.
And I think that's important, right? That people understand that you spent the time putting in the legwork.
Hmm.
It's easy to talk about what you want to do, right? It takes a little bit of work to understand why you want to do, right? And I love that you said you took the time to study, right? Because when we're going into spaces and places where we haven't been before,
Hmm.
how else do we learn, right? If we don't have experience, we can get things through study, through mentorship,
Hmm.
you know. So I'm grateful that you leaned into that space right there, because there's someone right now, like I said, you are someone right now is saying, because Carol's doing it, I can do it
You
too,
absolutely can do it.
right?
Yep.
There's someone right now, there's someone that says, hey, I don't have a political background, but I want to make a difference. I love that you told them they didn't have to run for an office, right? You can get involved in so many different ways.
Hmm. Hmm.
You can run a nonprofit. You don't have to run like now. We are a for-profit company that consults and works with nonprofits, so the impact never had to stop. So um, there are people that are thinking, I want to get involved right now. What do you think? Who for someone who's watching you right now and thinking, I am sick and tired of being sick
Sick
and
and
tired,
tired.
right?
I know that's right.
Right. What do you think, or what would you suggest to someone that wants to just find their way in, whatever door they may think allows them to be effective? What do you think they should do first?
I
Pick
really think they should take stock of what they're good at. So first do like some introspection. What are you good at? If you're good at arts, maybe get involved with the art scene. I just attended the Inner Star Awards, and it is beautiful. Our community is showing up in such amazing, beautiful ways, demonstrating their talent, sharing their gifts of acting or modeling or dance or singing. There's a lot going on here if we really take the time to, like, really pay attention to what's going on. And so first off, though, is just figure out what you're good at, and then try to match what your skill sets are to what's happening already. So if you're good at um, just being interested in service and helping others. That's why I mentioned the Rotary organization. There's Kiwanis, there's Lions Club, there's a bunch of other organizations that you can get paired with to be able to use your talents. That's just one example of many things, but it's just trying to figure out what you're good at, and then connecting with organizations that need that type of help. There's the volunteer center of the Lehigh Valley. They connect volunteers with the nonprofit organizations that need their help. You can go call the United Way. The United Way, I've been a volunteer for the United Way for pretty much the entire time I've been here. I'm part of the Women United, and we're women in philanthropy. We give donations out to worthy organizations and causes in the Lehigh Valley. That at one point I was in Tocqueville, but now I can't afford Tocqueville anymore. But at one point I was doing that. But that's another resource, the United Way. So there's a lot of things that a person could be doing if they really just do some introspection. What are you good at? What do you like to do? And then figure out who needs that. The Day of Caring, for example, through the United Way, I have painted walls at Second Harvest Food Bank. I have folded clothes and did a lot of like fixing things up at the YWCA's Perfect Fit. I have helped with animals at the Humane Society. I've walked them. I helped with some grooming. I've done a lot of different things over the years as a community volunteer. So figure out what you're good at and just put those skills to use. Don't let them, don't hide them. Don't keep them all to yourself. Share them with others, because our community needs it.
I love it. I love it. I love that you told, because that's so important, to first find out what you love to do, and I asked that question because it's easy to tell people, hey, just come help me, right? It's another thing to tell someone to fall in love with what you're doing, right? Because when people are in love with what they're doing, they seem to give you a lot more. So I love that you're telling people get involved in their way, not just get involved in your campaign, because that's important, right? Leadership shows that we don't always need people just to follow us, right? But we
Although I would love volunteers, so I'm not gonna leave that on the table.
as you
I
should.
do. I also would love volunteers, but if this is not your cup of tea, then this it's fine. But would love the support of the community members who are interested in supporting me one way or another. I often hear people say it's about your time, talent, and treasure, and that's what I do. I talk about like donating your time, your talent, or your treasure. And what I mean by that is your time. So volunteer, maybe you could help me knock doors, you could help make calls and get the word out about my campaign. So that's your time. Your talent is then what you're good at. So if like you're good at writing, maybe you could be writing letters to the editor and getting other people to write, or writing about any number of places. That's one example of if you're good at writing, but there could be other things that you could do. And then, or training how to organize. And so that's time, talent, and then treasure. I do need to make sure that our campaign is well funded. So we don't want people buying a seat. We don't want people just coming in here thinking that they could buy a congressional seat, and that unfortunately is a reality that could happen. So we want to make sure that we have a well-funded campaign. So all of the ways in which you could get involved, you could just go to my website and go to Carol for PA. That's Carol for the word for, so FORPA.com, and you could sign up to volunteer, or you could donate, and then you can get connected with my campaign.
That's awesome, because I was just about to tell you the time goes by quickly and we're getting closer to the end. So make sure you give them your website, so that they know how to get involved, how, whether they want to give their time, their talent, or their treasure, where to to truly donate again.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you give them that website again? You know,
It's Carol for PA, and it's the word for. So it's Carol FORPA.com. My people could email. So my email is info@carol4pa.com. So that's another way that they can get in contact with me. Or you can just sign up to get information from us directly on the website. But it's carol4pa.com or emailing at info@carol4pa.com.
thank you. And I wanted to make sure that, with all of the things that you tell people, that they know how to actually get involved to give you one of those three things.
Mm-hmm.
Time, treasure, or, some
Talent.
talent.
Mm-hmm.
So as we, as we're talking through this, and I don't want to skip past that this that you thought this was a calling. This wasn't something that you planned out.
No.
Because there are a lot of career politicians.
That's right.
Right. There are people who go from one office with a plan of getting to the next office with a plan to be the president at
Mm-hmm.
one time.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be the way you did it. Now, Trump says get on TV and we can just go. You know what I mean? But, life has changed. But, there used to be stepping stones,
Mm-hmm.
right, to get to, you know, um, the presidency or anything. So if someone says, I'm for Carol, for Congress, are
Mm-hmm.
they, are there dreams of bigger, Carol for senator, Carol for US president?
Uh, I can't be president, so that's one thing that's xed
I'm
out
for, yeah,
because
because you're foreign born.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So because I'm a naturalized citizen, I can't be president. I just want to be Congress. I want to make a difference. I want to go into Congress and fight for our district. This district needs better representation. We deserve it. We deserve this. We deserve better representation for us. People that really understand what folks day to day are going through and how hard it is. Someone that's going to fight tooth and nail for us. Had a Latino or Latina in Congress from Pennsylvania ever in the whole history of America. We've never had, so this would be historic. If I go to Congress, it would be historic because representation matters. Understanding that I would be elevating voices and stories. I grew up in an area very similar to Allentown. I grew up in Passaic, a black and brown community. I understand urban areas, but I actually and that was beautiful. I love my upbringing and how much I learned. But then I got married to my husband, and he is like three generations of dairy farmers, and I learned so much about rural America and ag, and so I bring all of that. I bring like my life experience growing up in a very urban area, very similar to Allentown, and yet I have like all this. I have this Mennonite family, and it's interesting, and that's what America's all about. Everybody, it's just we come together. We're trying to make it a better place. You know, indivisible with liberty and justice for all, and that's what it is.
I love it. When we were growing up in school, they used to talk about America being the great melting pot,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can come to America and become American. Our kids, this next generation, more my grandkids, I should say, will not see the same America that we received.
Mm-hmm.
It's even more divided right now.
Yeah, it's very divided. You're right.
You know, we have heightened fear of deportation.
Mm-hmm.
We have heightened
Of
fear
violence just because of the way you look. That's not right.
and
That's un-American. That's un-American.
and again, I if we're going to enforce immigration, if we were enforcing it all across the board, it would be, but it seems targeted to black and brown communities. I haven't seen and many Europeans being paraded and being sent back. You know, it's when I talk to supporters of this law and changes, I ask them, do they realize that Barron also doesn't apply? Barron Trump being, you know, the you know the child of Melania, who's
Mm-hmm.
also a foreigner,
Mm-hmm.
he would also be a victim of these laws. So what we want is not really what we want in many places. So how do we get to what's great for a community,
Yeah. Yeah. And when you talk about immigration, we can all agree that we need a fix on immigration, but it needs to be three things. It's legal, effective, and humane, and not always underscore, highlight, bold, everything with a highlighter. It's humane. It's humane because that's not what we're seeing. We're not seeing the humanity in this. We're seeing cruelty, almost cruelty as like
right?
part of it, like on
It's it
purpose.
and
It's
and
not right.
and I'm so big on that. We're getting ready to release our next book, Curing Racism. So we're talking more and more about what does it look like to build bridges
Mm-hmm.
across communities, right? One conversation at a time, right, to cure racism, because there are it's harder to misjudge someone that you've taken the time to get to know,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. 100%.
But it's easy to tell someone Carol Obando Derstine is a Latina something, so we didn't take the time to know that she's also now a farmer,
Mm-hmm. That's
so
right. I was an herbalist. I was learning about herbs, and I had my little, yeah. I learned it at one of the farms in Doylestown. So yeah,
yes.
farmer. I got chickens. I got chickens, y'all. I got chickens. I have like 3 eggs a day. From our chickens. It's cool.
Yes. So to really start to build these bridges that have been broken, right? We are a community, you know, and I'm not surprised that Pennsylvania has not, you know, put a Latino in Congress yet. Our sister Cynthia Mota was the first Dominican woman to be city council president
Mm.
in this state. We're talking about in the 2020s. We're not talking about something that
Exactly.
happened, like she was president, her first time being president was 5 years ago, so
Hmm.
in the last 5 years was the first time
Right.
something like that has happened. You know, now, you know, we've never had anything other than a white male mayor. Our current mayor speaks a little Spanish, but we've never had anything other than a white male mayor. So we haven't, you know, um, our votes represents the super voters. It hasn't represented the population. So how do
But
you?
imagine if we get out. Imagine what we could
Uh,
do if our communities come out and actually vote for folks that they believe truly represent them. And so we can elevate stories and experiences, and make policies from those challenges that we have.
and that's a challenge
Because that's what it
that's
is.
a challenge that you're gonna have to face, right? Because we're in a space where we have great apathy, unfortunately, and we don't come out for local elections at the in the numbers that we should. Um, Prime example, um, the one of one of Allentown's most popular mayors, Ed Pawlowski. Everyone loved Ed prior to him going to prison. People still love him while he's there. You know, we're in a city that has 110,000 people. Ed's never got 12,000 votes. So that means less than 10% of the votes. You know, So as knowing that, we're talking about April Reddick, who is um, now county commissioner,
Mm-hmm.
you know, has gotten the most votes ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
By a person of color,
Mm-hmm.
almost 16,000 votes,
Mm-hmm.
to win
And
her
I
seat,
see her showing up to
you know.
places and
No,
spaces, and
no.
I love that.
And she always has,
Mm-hmm.
as the leader of the Allentown Aids. I say that to say that you have a challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
How how do you deal with the knowledge of the people that you knock on the doors the hardest may not come out and vote anyway?
Well, I'm not going to give up on anyone. I'm going to keep telling my story, and I'm going to keep talking about how I'm going to be showing up for them. And that's what we need. We need folks that are fighting and fighting for them and all
Hmm.
families. And we got to inspire. We got to
Hmm.
be the change that they want to see. And a lot of times we just haven't seen, we have seen the same old, and that's does not inspire us. So folks don't come out if they're not inspired. But if we give them a reason to come out, a reason to show that, and a reason that we are, that I am different, that I am not a career politician, I'm not the same old. I'm someone with deep roots in the community that wants to make a difference, that wants to elevate our stories and our experiences to Congress. I that's what's gonna take. It's gonna take folks that they're just know that I'm not the same old same old.
And
We
that's,
got to inspire.
yes, I
And we
love it.
got to come up with real solutions too, which I didn't go into all the ways in which I was going to talk about, like actually address affordability of housing, healthcare, groceries, utilities, and childcare. But I'm working on updating my website to have more specific examples, like low income housing tax credits, like funding more for community development fund initiatives, for funding, like Finanta is one in here in Allentown that's supporting small businesses to help them grow. These are all things that we creating more of an ecosystem for small businesses to thrive. More micro loans, more. So it's going to take a lot, but we can deal with these crises that we have, like housing crisis right now. We just do not have enough supply. But how do we do it in a way that is incentivizing more public private partnerships instead of private equity coming and taking all of the available houses, and it pushes people that are trying to buy their first home, it pushes them out of the cities, especially in areas where they need that transportation. They need to be closer to the Lanta routes to be able to get to their jobs and to be able to get their kids to childcare or what have you. So these are things that I'm going to be having on my website, but I'm also all ears. I want to have more community meetings and more community roundtables. I've had one uh, Latino roundtable. I've had African American leaders roundtables. I've had one on tech and AI, and I just want to keep having more and more in-depth conversations that's really going to help me truly understand and the problems that our communities are facing, but also coming up with solutions and policy recommendations, because I am a problem solver and I bring people together. That is a superpower that I have and that I want to bring to Congress.
I love that. So if someone wanted to schedule a round table, would they go to your website and do that as well?
So they can email me at info@carol4pa.com and we can get that started. I've already, like I said, I've been having several, but it's just we need more and bigger meetings, and that's what it's gonna take. So
I
May
lo-
19 is my race. May 19 is the primary. I'm a Democrat, and there's others in the primary, so we have to have the plan. The strategy here is build the broadest coalition that taps into the strengths and diversity of our district. That's the game plan right there. Build the broadest coalition.
I love it. I love it. And I told you this hour will go by so quickly. So I want you to give them your website again and
Thank you.
tell them how they can get involved.
Carol for PA And the 4 is FOR, not the number. It's carolforpa.com is the website. If you want to volunteer, if you want to donate to my campaign, if you want to uh, donate your talent in some way, unique way, that something you're good at that you want to donate to the campaign, and that with that talent that you have, please, you can do so. You can sign up on the website. You can also email the campaign at info@carol4pa.com. But again, it's going to take a broad coalition, a lot of different groups coming together and meet, like us, tapping into the strengths and diversity of our district. That's what it's going to take. And I believe we can do it. We've shown at the federal level, I saw what Obama was able to do. When you have a dream and you have a plan and you have a vision for how things could be different, how we can have better representation, there's nothing we can't do. If it just takes, it takes the effort, it takes people to believe that this is possible, and just get out and come out and help.
I love it. And I'm going to ask you to do with us what we've asked all of our guests to do, and that's say my personal manifesto. So I'm going to say it all the way through, and then we'll do it in call and response.
Yeah.
So my personal manifesto is, I love me. I'm worthy. Some people may not like me, but I don't care, because the people that matter will be glad that I'm here. So we'll do it call and response. I love me.
I love me.
I'm worthy.
I'm worthy.
Some people may not like me,
Some people may not like me,
but I don't care,
but I don't care,
because the people that matter
because the people that matter
will be glad that I'm here.
will be glad that I'm here.
And yes, we were glad that you spent this hour with us.
Thank you.
We are glad that you were able to share your background. We are glad that you were able to inspire someone, right? To, if you had enough, right, to do something. We're glad that you were stepping out of your comfort zone and running for Congress. We're glad that you went all in, right? And we are grateful to have had this time. So we thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
And next week we have Miss Mary Griffin on from the Caring Place. So we have some stories to tell. 28 years of service. So we are excited to have Miss Mary on. But before we go, make sure you go to carol4pa.com.
That's right.
.com, right? And go inside, find out how you can donate your time, your talent, or your treasure, because we need more people to get involved. If not just in this campaign, make sure you get involved in something that allows you to make a difference.
Sí se puede.
This is
Sí
Paz.
se puede.
Yes, this is Paz Simpson. This is another episode of You Don't Have to Be Perfect. And we want to thank